Hello, Benita. How are you?
Hi,
How are you doing?
I'm well, thanks. How about you?
I'm
I'm
doing
doing well, thanks. How about you?
I'm doing fabulous. Is there a slight delay there for us?
I believe there is.
Okay, good. So then I will pause after saying something for you, okay?
Okay.
So I am so super excited to have you and honored to have you. Actually, I'm honored for several reasons. Not only for this opportunity to interview you as an expert in your field, and you do a lot of different things, but
Yeah.
and we're going to talk about that. But also, you're one of my precious clients. One of my favorite ones too. Okay, all my
Oh.
clients are my favorites.
You make us all feel your favorite, like we're your favorite, I'm sure.
Oh, you are just such a gem to know as a person. And I mean this from my
Oh,
heart.
thank you.
And you're
Thank you.
such a delight to work with. And we'll talk shop after this.
Okay.
So, there's a couple of things that's fabulous about you, Benita. You have, I hope this is okay for me to share this with you. If not, forgive me and we'll bypass it. But you are in the process of doing some wonderful things. You have a book that's coming out if it hasn't come out already. So you're an author. You
Yes.
are a minister and a pastor's wife.
Hmm.
You are a wonderful mother and wife. And
Yes.
you sit on the leadership board for IAW in the Philadelphia chapter. So you
Hmm.
represent leadership, but there are some other activities that are happening. You have a nonprofit that you're in the process of launching. And
Yes.
I am open to you talking about that and everything. But your expertise currently lies in a couple of interesting areas besides being an editor yourself. You do some editing work for people and you know your clients, but there's a couple other things that you do. You specialize in some other things that I want you to share with us.
Okay. All right. So, one of the things that I specialize in is public health education. And so the majority of my career, so I am by trade, I am a research project manager. And
Mhm.
in the 30 plus years that I have been involved in public health research, I have helped to develop programming more specifically for members of the African American community around healthy eating, nutrition, and physical activity programs that we have done in churches and in other types of community based organizations. So, one of the things that I like to do is to consult with researchers who are interested in developing programming for various types of communities of color in particular. Um, and I like to help them to design their programming that to fit that specific target, their target demographic, and in order to make people healthier, to try to prevent some of the diseases that are preventable,
Yes.
um, and just to try to get people on a better footing, health wise. And with everything that's going on with the pandemic and everything, like it's even that much more important for us to really focus on our health and not only our physical health but our mental health, that which is
Yeah.
my other area that I'm really passionate about.
Oh, yes, you are passionate about it, and you've got some fabulous things that are coming out about that. And I won't spoil it for others. I'll let you share what you want to share about that. But yeah, I really like what you're doing because for the urban community of so many different races and backgrounds, we need that. You know, we have diseases that are kind of prone to us as our culture,
Mhm.
certain illnesses that, if you're Black, it's common to get these things, and other races and stuff. And like you said, to your point, especially because of this pandemic, is more vital and important for us to have self-care. And it's challenging right now too, because
Mhm.
since the pandemic, all you hear is self-care, mental health, not mental health, but mindset, self-care, and yoga, and this and that. And it may, some people may debate whether or not it's overkill, but it is important. And this is just giving us an opportunity to home in and on it even
Mhm.
more so. I was telling somebody earlier today, I have, we all have this corona weight on us. And I said, I like the
Yes.
curves that I formed. I just don't like the gut and the arms and the
Right.
wings.
I'm definitely with
Everything
you
else is
on
perfect.
that gut part.
When you've been very thin like this all your life, and a little bump here and there, you're like, oh, I like what I'm seeing, just not in certain areas. I don't need two
Right.
stomachs, just one. I don't
Exactly.
want a keg, I want a six pack, you know? But all of that is important. And even before the pandemic, I am reading a book right now. I've committed to, me, I've taken up Taekwondo. I meditate in the morning every day. I pray and meditate. I have my conversation with my faith, my God,
Mhm.
because it puts me in the right mindset to get my day started. But to help that, I have decided to devote myself to walking away from my computer and taking a 1 hour lunch break, and
Yes.
eating right, and taking my supplements and reading a book. And I'm reading a
Mm,
book about
yes.
micro steps, the little itty bitty steps we take to make
Mhm.
big changes in our lives. And it talks
Yes.
about these things: you're conditioning your mind, your mindset, thinking right, taking care of yourself, proper sleep, proper exercises, physical activities. It talks about
Mhm.
all of these things. So, it is very important, and it's been important to us even before COVID-19, because we have a
Absolutely.
clearer head to make the right decisions, business decisions, to recall things accurately, and so forth and so forth. We're easier to be around and stuff.
Mhm.
So I applaud
Absolutely.
you for what you're doing, and how passionate you are about that.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit more before you tell us about the other activities about the mindset, because that leads into your book. Let's talk about
Yeah.
some of the editorial stuff that you're doing too.
So yeah, so I am an editor, and it's actually something I've been doing for many many years, just not professionally. I just um my clients, what my husband was my number one client. So through his master's program and his doctoral program, and then editing for others, it's
Mm,
something that I do well and that I decided to turn into a business. But beyond editing, I don't just edit. I really do encourage. I am an
mm,
encourager, and so my business is my business tagline is developing what becomes you. And so with respect to editing, mostly that's people who have written a book, and that are self-publishing. I have a ton of clients as of late who are working on their dissertations. So
nice. Look at you.
uh,
You are
all this,
thriving through this pandemic.
I am, I get to read all this new material. I get to learn about different industries that people are getting their doctorate
You're
degrees
getting
in.
a sneak peek.
I am, and I love it. I love that aspect of it, but I also love encouraging them, because usually by the time they get to me, they have already kind of done all of the work. They've already put it together, and they're like, this is like the last leg of the journey. And a
Yeah.
lot of them are just at that place of, I don't know if I can make it, you know. they're really they're really at that place of, listen, I'm ready for this to be done with. And so I do like to be that encouraging voice that says, listen, you're right there. You're right at the finish line. I'm about to call you Dr. So and so, you know. um,
Right.
Beyond editing, and that's one of the things that my clients really love the most. Beyond the fact that I'm pretty competitive price wise, but they really enjoy that. I do like to encourage them to keep pushing, keep striving, and you're gonna get there. We're right there. And just those little itty bitty things that they aren't able to pick up anymore, my eyes can pick them up, and I can make
Yeah.
sure that everything is right for them. So, and then the other thing that I am working on launching is my coaching business.
That's right. How
um,
did I forget that?
Yeah, I mean, and I'm really excited about that as well, because uh, like me, there are a lot of women who are over the age of 40. I'm over the age of 50.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I went through a period of just not feeling fulfilled and thinking that
Mm,
I'm too old to do anything
yep.
different. I need to just kind of just stay where I'm at and keep doing what I'm doing, and not ever thinking I would ever even have the capacity to be an entrepreneur, and finding myself doing it. And so I want to help others like me, to do that, to tap into their skills, to tap into their gifts, to learn how to monetize those, and to be fulfilled in what they're doing. So, you want, it's like you want to be able to make money, but you also want to be happy doing it, you know?
Yeah,
You want
that's
to
right.
feel like you're doing something that's contributing to the greater good. And so that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm up to. And I'm super excited about all of it.
Wow, that's remarkable. Now, let's talk a little bit about the editorial aspect of things. It's remarkable. This is a great time for people to be writing and producing books. A great time for people to be doing speaking engagements, um, coaching opportunities, and everything, because everything is virtual, and it's an easy way to pivot if you have the skill sets. Because yes, it does take a skill set for everything you do professionally, even
Absolutely.
becoming a coach. Being
Yes.
certified for that to be able to guide other people, and the author. Um, what are some of the what's your process with that? Are you partner up with a publishing company to get the clients and edit their books, or give it a kind of like a proofreading before it goes to publication? And I'm hope I'm saying that right, to be
Yeah,
published.
yeah. So I am not partnered with a publisher. I am a freelance editor at this point.
Okay. Okay.
In the future, because I am still working a full-time job in
Mm,
addition to all of these other things,
right.
um, I do need to be aware. So I don't even necessarily take on all of the clients that want to
Mm,
come on board, because
okay.
I want to do the job well, and
Right.
I know what my limit is right now, with everything else that's on my plate. So I am a freelance editor at the moment.
Okay.
Um, However, in the future, um, I'll be retiring from my jobs in less than 3 years at this point.
Right.
So in the future, I would love to do that, though, to partner with some publishing companies, and even looking at the one that my book will be coming out through. So.
Wow, that's fantastic. I think that's amazing. And I also love your integrity too. You're more driven by quality over quantity and stuff.
Yes.
It's something that we stand by here as well. What would you rather have? Someone who's done thousands of events a year, or someone who's done hundreds of events a year, but you have their undivided attention and they can pay
Right.
attention to all the details, the fine details to execute your event needs and any other services. So I
Mhm.
love that you're doing that. I love that you are, you're bold enough to say, I'm sorry, I can't take on this project at the moment because I'm at my capacity
Mhm.
to be able to offer the best services. So I
Absolutely.
think that's
Yeah.
brilliant. Um, do you care to share about what's going on with your new venture and project?
Yes.
Well, let's talk about the book. Let's talk about your book because your
Okay.
book kind of sets the tone for that. And let's just consider this
Yes.
as a sneak peek about what's to come for
Yes.
that.
Yes. 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 So I'm really excited. So my book, the title of the book is called The Scream Within.
Mm,
Um, Mental Health and Clergy Marriages, Journey of a Pastor's Spouse. And the
wow.
impetus of the book comes out of the fact that my husband, who is a pastor, deals with depression. And for many years, in the church, the mental health is not something that the church has wanted to really touch. And there
Mhm.
are even those who would venture to say, well, just pray about it.
Yeah.
Oh, just get over it, just pray about it and, everything will be all right. Well, sometimes people need to pray about what therapist to go see. And that's just the fact of the matter. And it's okay. It's, just like you take care of your physical body, just like you see a
Mhm.
doctor for your physical body, there are people that can help you in your mental challenges as well.
That's
So
right.
he deals with depression, and the main focus of the book though is my journey in
Mm,
working with him and walking with him in throughout these nearly 26 years we've been married, um, in his depression and what the impact of it on me as a spouse,
yes.
and particularly as a pastor spouse,
That's
because
what I was going to say, not just as a spouse, but as a first lady.
yeah, because a lot of very often, when pastors go through mental health challenges, or even when they're just um, going through grief, like when a member passes, when you have to be strong for the family, so you can't show that you are
Mhm.
grieving too. The
Right.
pastor doesn't really have an outlet except for
Mm,
the spouse, right?
yeah.
And so the spouse then becomes this person who it needs to in some ways be like their mental health go-to person, their
Mhm.
therapist of sorts. But many of us aren't trained in that area, and even if we are, sometimes you need to go to somebody different, somebody that's
Mhm.
not really right up on the situation, somebody that can kind of have that bird's eye view and look, kind of look at from a distance and
Right.
see some other things that you don't necessarily see when you're up close and personal. So
Wow.
this book has really been, oh my gosh, it's really near and dear to my heart. I've never been this transparent and this vulnerable publicly before.
Does it make you
Even
nervous?
a minister myself, I am a little nervous, and even in making the decision to write the book, I was really the Holy Spirit told me to write it like 3 years. I had the idea 3 years before I even approached my husband to say I was thinking about writing it,
Wow.
right? Because one of the things that you deal with when you're a caregiver of someone with depression is you're kind of tiptoeing to make sure that you're not going to do or say something that is going to put them into a depression, right? That's not
Right.
going to put them into an episode of depression. And so I'm like, if I write this book, it might depress him. And so,
Yeah.
I it took me a few years to finally say, thinking about writing this book. The wonderful thing is that when I told him, his response was, "You have to write that book."
Wow.
And he said to me, "I don't know if I'll be able to read it, but you have to write it." So and now that I've completed it, and I have now read it a few times myself, I'm very proud of it. I'm really proud of
Oh,
the work, and I think that he will be able to read it and he'll be okay.
wow.
I think that other people, will be able to read it and they'll be okay. And even the publisher, when she read it, she was just like, "Oh, I can't wait for this book to get out because you are going to help so many people, not
I
even
agree.
spouses, but just people in general with this book." So,
I agree because when you have someone in a community leadership role like your husband, you rely on him for so much. And with him battling something like depression, you know, other people's burdens is not of interest for most people that suffer from depression, because they can't handle it.
mhm,
They're struggling with issues internally for themselves. But the impact of someone who suffers from depression, my sister suffers from depression. She told me herself. I don't know how she's coming through it these days, because they're in and out quite often with it. It seems
yeah,
like a trap, a spider web for them. Once they fall into that mindset, it's very hard to get out of it and to
mhm,
get back on whatever path that seems normal to them. But you're looking at it not only from a wife's perspective, church members' perspective, children perspective, relatives, family members, that's an impact for everyone. It's
mhm,
just like when they say, if a loved one has cancer, we all have cancer. If a loved one
mhm,
is hurt and suffering, we all suffer. So
yeah,
it was a great idea for you to write this from the perspective of a caretaker.
yeah,
That's what you're
and
doing.
and
You're
it
taking
and
care of
quite
him.
yes, and quite honestly, it was quite therapeutic for me.
Mm,
Um, as well, because I was able to sort of get out all of these things that I have held,
held in.
sort of bottled up for a long time. So
Mm.
it really helped me to be able to just get it out, in some way, and to be able to talk about it from my perspective.
So you're giving people, other people who may have experienced similar situations like you, the permission. It's okay to feel however you're feeling. It's
Yes.
okay to express it and to go through the motions because they're human. You're human too.
Hmm.
Just as much as your husband's in need for you, you have your needs and you're human, and you're not unbreakable.
Right.
And then the love, the fact that you have stood by him through whatever journey it was like for you. Through the
Hmm.
process, you're still here with him. You're still here as a companion. You're still here as a spouse. You're still here as a support system and a caretaker. So the
Yes.
love there
And it's worth it.
is being identified and labeled as a strong bond between the two of you in true love.
Yes.
You,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah,
There's a
you
whole
didn't allow the stress to overtake you, to conquer you.
no, I mean the love is really is the driving force, in all of it, in unconditional love. Not I love you,
Hmm.
because, but just I love you,
Yes.
period. So,
Yeah.
I actually talk about that in the book. It's a whole section about that. Um,
Yeah.
that I can't wait for
And
people to read.
when does the book come out? You may have said it, but I would like for you
I
to
don't
say it again.
I don't have the exact date, but it should be right around the beginning of June. So,
Beautiful.
um, I don't have the exact date yet, but that should be coming very, very soon.
And give us the title again so that people can look out for it.
It is called The Scream Within Journey. I'm sorry, The Scream Within, Clergy, Marriage, and Mental Health Journey of a Pastor Spouse.
Beautiful. Sometime in mid-June. Looking forward to it. And this is a nice little segue into some of the soon to come projects that you have, because of your journey and your experience as a pastor's wife who suffers from depression or challenges of depressions.
Mhm.
You have, taken on a new project of your own that is soon to come as well,
Yes.
sometime this year.
Mhm.
And it's to help prevent, to help young people with their mental challenges and emotional intelligence as well. And you
Mhm.
want to kind of minimize the bullying activities that come from certain behavior and actions of people, and you got a lot of proactive um, programs in place for those that may not be suffering from mental issues or emotional issues, but how to
Mhm.
conduct themselves in society. And I love it. I think it's fantastic. It was it was definitely something that I have never heard of or and feel as though is a big thing to do. We try to fix the problems after they've occurred and been identified, but to prevent
Yeah.
it is even better.
Absolutely. I've always been a huge proponent of prevention wherever possible. Um, and the way that this my nonprofit came about, which would be called Minding the Mental, is that I work in a place where there were a lot of students, college students who were committing suicide.
Mm,
Um, and I thought, how, if they could have addressed, if they could have had something that sparked them to actually think about their thinking
mm-hmm.
along the trajectory, because a lot of college students bring with them, you already have the stress of college.
Right,
The general sort of papers and tests and all that kind of stuff, but a lot of kids bring other stressors with them. Some of them, are the first in their family to go to college. Some of them have lineages of people who have gone not only gone to college, but
mm-hmm.
have been standouts, who are in these professional careers, and they've got to have the pressure of having to stand up for their family name and that sort of thing. And that's a lot of pressure
Right. It
for
is.
these 17, 18, 19-year-olds to deal with. Um, but maybe if there was a program, at the college during their freshman week activities that said,
Mm-hmm.
hey, listen, while throughout this trajectory, we want you to think about how you're thinking. We want you to think about your mental health. Not only do we want you to think about your own mental health, we want you to pay attention to those that are around you. Pay attention to the
Mm,
other students and sort of how they're behaving. And if you notice changes in how they're behaving, actually, know having the tools to know what to say,
right.
knowing what resources to lead them to, and that sort of thing. Imagine, if some of these students had that, perhaps a life could have been saved. And so I just think it's so important for and now it's even important for younger kids, as you
I
mentioned
agree.
to
Mm-hmm.
me. I thank you for
I
that
agree.
idea, extend it to younger people. I was talking to my oldest daughter, who will be heading up the arts component
Mm-hmm.
of the nonprofit, and she works with young kids in the arts, and she was just talking about how some of the kids would just kind of come to her and just talk.
Wow.
Or sometimes if the kids started acting out, she would just kind of say, "Come here, let's talk." She would kind of pull them out
Wow.
rather than, why don't you stop this, and yelling and screaming at them. She would kind of take them out and just kind of have a conversation with them. And then ultimately what would come out would be something like, well, this happened at home this morning,
Mm,
and so now it's like, okay, now I see why this kid is acting out. It's not that this is a bad kid.
right.
This kid just doesn't know how to, doesn't have the tools to deal with the what's going on mentally. And so if we are able
Or
to provide
emotionally.
or emotionally, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're able to provide them with those tools early on as they're growing up and as they're dealing with mental health challenges, if they have them later on in life, they will have those tools that will stay with
Yeah.
them. And they will have that desire and that intentionality to make sure that they continuously think about their thinking.
Wow, that's
So,
remarkable. And it's funny because as you mentioned your daughter and how her natural ability to address some of the children that seem to be acting out and understand them and take the more gentle and caring approach to them, it's kind of in a way, it's kind of like a blessing within a an experience that your family endured with your husband.
mhm,
That's the blessing that came out of that. Your
mhm,
daughter is able to easily, it's second nature for her to respond the way she did because she knows what it's like to deal with someone who suffers from a mental disorder, of depression. And that's a blessing right there. And
mhm,
now she's able to team up with you for your business venture with the
yeah,
nonprofit
mhm, mhm,
and be an asset.
yes.
So
I'm really
not only
excited
did
about
you
that.
get something out of this, but so did your daughter
Yeah.
from that life experience, those life experiences and that they had or that you and she had with your husband.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
then on top of that, he's a huge support for what you guys are doing.
absolutely. Yes.
He sees that value
Yes,
and
he is
he's not
definitely, and
holding
he's
you back from that.
not at all, not at all. And just to say, I mean, he does openly talk about his battles with depression.
That's
He
fantastic.
he's not, he has done interviews and written articles about it, and talked with other pastors and even church members. He
Mm,
doesn't hide that from the congregation.
wow.
You know, it's something that he is actively wanting to have an impact in that area himself. So I'm
That's
grateful.
beautiful. He's willing to be vulnerable because, and that's important too, because we look at our pastors and have very high expectations of them, but we
Hmm.
tend to forget that they're humans and they are capable of having flaws. So
Yes.
he's letting people know in his own way, I'm not perfect.
Right.
And you're going to hear it from
Right.
me rather than someone else who wants to criticize me and point blame at me because of
Right.
XYZ.
Exactly.
So I
Exactly.
think that's just very, very good. I just love that.
Mhm.
Wow. Well, Benita, this is our time. And I just
Okay.
want to wrap up with a fun fact. And my
Okay.
fun fact question for you is what are you looking to get out of 21?
Ooh, that's a loaded fun fact question.
Although we kind of gave it away because you got so many things coming in the near
So
future
many
within
things.
months.
Yeah, yeah. I want to. I think the biggest thing that I want to do really is in terms of being a businesswoman is to make
Mm,
sure I have my business straight. And that means, the accounting and just
mhm.
all of those the we know everything that's all the services, but the behind the services will be a need to be professional and to make sure with all the like the tax information and all of that. I want to be more, I want to be better with that. I
Mm,
want to be more knowledgeable about all of that and make sure I'm doing everything the way that it should be done in order to be successful.
right.
Um,
So you're not looking, this is not a fly by night, type of business. You're looking to have an infrastructure in place. You want the foundation all laid out and
yes,
structure within your
yes,
organizations and the different businesses that you are already birthing
Yes.
and just trying to get them up and running by the time you retire. So I
Mhm.
say there's nothing wrong with that. I 100% agree with you. I'm a firm believer if you're going to do something, do it right, do it full heartedly, not half,
Yes.
you know what. So
Right.
yes, for you to for you
Absolutely.
to meet and as a business owner, you don't, I know that we hear those terms, you know, we wear all hats and we have to take this hat off in order to put this one on for that moment. And yes, that's going to happen. And there's going to be plenty of moments where you're going to feel a little overwhelmed. But to be, and this is what I do like about you as a client of mine, you definitely do not have any problems putting the experts in position and letting them do what they do best for you.
Yes.
But
Yes.
what's great is you do need to know everything, all the different divisions, because as these people who you appoint to handle certain things, you'll know what they're talking about when they give you an update. You know where your business stand when they're providing you a status update or progress or whatever the case may be, good or bad news and stuff. You don't want to be that business owner who was in the dark about the accounting. And next thing you know,
Right.
you got to close your door in a month. What? How did this come about?
Yeah.
Well, you should have
Exactly.
known, type of thing. So
Exactly.
yeah, I totally respect that. And it's better to start off that way than to turn around and have to back paddle and figure it out after your
Yes.
business have taken off. So good for you. I know that's going to happen, and I'm hoping and praying that that happens for you. And
Thank you. Thank
you're going
you.
to have
I
a
appreciate you, Gracie.
marvelous year. Oh, we do too. You're going to have a marvelous 2021. Don't go anywhere,
I believe
okay?
it.
Thank you for
Okay.
being here. And even though, I just have to say this, even though we are at the tail end of wrapping up these interviews, we have scheduled a few more. You know, I wanted to wrap it up by, I think it was April, May, but we may
Mhm.
have some interviews still being published up until the time your book is launched. And we would love to have you come back and share the joy and the announcement of the book being launched and
Okay.
focus on your book around that time, if you will come back so that we can share it with
Absolutely.
our network.
Absolutely. I'd be honored. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.